Well, it's been a while since one of these updates was late, so I'm glad we can return to that specific tradition. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody, to me doing a weekly navel-gazing, where I explain why I didn't do anything last week. Sort of, at least. But, the explanation is good because I already talked about it last time. So let's just do the usual thing and talk about what I read, what I plan to read and do this week, and so forth. And then it all descends into me being gloomy on the internet, which is what I'm good at, I guess. So yeah, because of my travels last week, I did not read a lot, as you can guess. I did read some, stuff for the Sanderson project, and I did finally start Hopeland by Ian MacDonald, and it's a brilliant book, and no one talks about it, which annoys me no end. So I guess I'll do it as soon as I am done with the book. So maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after tomorrow, something like that. It's a brilliant book. Go read it. It's really good. And yeah, that's sort of the reading plans for now, which will be, well, me finishing Hopeland, me probably reading A Song for Arbonne by Guy Gabriel Kay in preparation for the next planned Sunday school. And then, other stuff that just happens to be important for whatever reason when I, come up with it. If you have tips, let me know. I don't have any opportunity to buy anything right now, but, maybe some of these things will stick in my brain long enough for me to actually go and, record, so I'll read them at some point and then talk about it, sort of. So, what else happened last week? Well, I did actually start recording a video. Yes, I did record the first part of the Brandon Sanderson culture industry, whatever behemoth it's going to be. And, it'll probably take another couple of weeks, I guess, until that thing is finished, because, I want to get it right, as usual, and then I'll just get stuck and run in circles and stuff like that. But I did record the introduction and stuff, so we're on to a start, which is sometimes more important than anything else, because, doing part 2 is easier than doing part 1 and so forth, so I'm kind of glad that I did that, and that's a good thing. I also did, obviously, do the new thing, and I did even write the update on my community tab, I think, on it, which is we did record the first part of the Metal Industrial Complex, which is the heavy metal podcast thing that John and I have been talking about, and the first one is out. Go check it out. I'll link it down below again. And if all goes well, we'll record the second one today, so maybe there will be even more rambling and stuff happening today. We will see. Anyway, as I said before, I want to keep those two somewhat separated. I mean, the video part and the podcast, because while I'm always open to talk about heavy metal and fantasy literature in the same context, I feel it may make sense to have those or communities, or can't call them communities, like have those aspects of my personality or like interests and so forth, have those kind of, separate in a way. Also, John and me doing the fantasy, doing the heavy metal stuff has a long tradition, like over 10 years at this point. God, 15 years or so. So it kind of feels good to have this in a separate location and not just something on this channel. So there we go. It's also, just the first thing, so I hope that we'll be able to actually improve our general, conversations and stuff like that, and make it all a bit more fun to listen to over the next couple of, episodes, for however long we'll be able to do this. So that's one thing I've learned in doing the YouTube channel or other stuff on the internet, like, you can't predict how long you'll actually be able to do something, and maybe you'll realize and find out that it sucks after a while, and then you just like stop, or something else comes up, and it's that kind of stuff. And it's certainly been one of the things that I've been recently thinking a lot about in general, the idea of permanence or lack thereof in what I do, what other people do, and so forth, because it's just important aspect of what we're something that I feel has changed in our society compared to previous ages. Well, ages, I mean, like even decades, in a way that things are so fluid at this point that you never know what'll happen next week or next month or next year. So making predictions beyond anything is just useless. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about that. It kind of came up because recently I've realized that, you hang out on a bunch of Discord servers and stuff like that, and they obviously, change in community because people come and go, and sometimes they lose steam. And I feel like a lot of these communities have like a very, I don't want to say limited shelf life, but they exist for like a couple of years or like a year or two, and then somehow they're losing steam, and then they slowly just fade away because people lose their interest. New people maybe don't show up as often because the general topic has maybe sort of vanished from like our very, very short attention span. And then at the end of the day, you just like have a couple of like dedicated people that have always been there, and you're like, yeah, but we can just like start a group chat. We don't have to do this on a Discord server anymore. And I think that's interesting because the way these things are set up, the way, for example, also, like any form of conversation is set up, means that you need to have a certain kind of community, because that's how social media works. We force people basically into building communities to build up these interactions, these sort of sometimes social, sometimes parasocial relationships to build up this whole thing to keep it going, because there's obviously platforms behind the whole thing that make money out of that. And for example, me as someone doing YouTube things here, in theory, I'm supposed to have a community that is dedicated, not dedicated, but you guys. Ideally, you're part of my community. And the question is like, what does that mean? I mean, does it mean the three people that that regularly comment? Are you guys talking to each other? I mean, I know some of you are hanging out on the same Discord server, so there is interaction there, of course. But it's and the problem is that if you don't have that community, it severely cuts into how you do these kind of things, right? There's very little interaction. I mean, there's obviously booktubers out here that are really, really good at building communities, and you can see how that works, and they have like very dedicated fans, and for reasons that maybe about their charisma or their personality, or there's just the way they interact with people in a lot of ways. And I oftentimes envy these people, because if there's one thing I've learned over the years, like I'm really not good at doing community things or being social, I guess. Like I love to talk, but it feels like I'm lacking some massive skills when it comes to keeping a community together, or forming that kind of thing, those kind of social bonds. There may be all kinds of reasons for that, and some of them may be stuff about my neurodiversity and shit like that. Some other aspects probably come into that as well. Maybe I just can't be bothered to put in the hard work, or have other issues there. It's like, I don't know. But it sometimes feels like the problem is that like not being able to do that, not having that dedicated community, I mean, does kind of hold back the my ability to communicate in general, or my ability to grow this channel if I wanted to grow it. You know what I mean? It kind of holds me all back in that regard, and it's certainly something that I've been thinking about a lot recently, especially, I was traveling last week, and it was great in general ways, obviously. I connected with a few people I hadn't seen ever since that last plague hit our world, and it's always great to meet these people again. And also then, if you're part of a larger group, suddenly you realize that, no, you're that weird feeling of kind of standing on the sidelines. And there's probably a ton of reasons why I feel like that oftentimes. Partly that's probably because I'm, struggling with some mental health issues that kind of exacerbate these problems. And then there's other reasons where I'm, maybe my behavior just is off-putting, or maybe can't roll this fully out. There's also the issue that, I got a visible disability, and that is certainly something that can make it harder to approach people. in public, of course. There's a ton of things behind that, and they're just like sometimes coming home, or sometimes kind of driven home, and then I'm just sitting there, it's like, yeah, well, so where does that leave me, right? where does that leave me in a lot of ways? And there have been some, just general bad luck and shit like that made it very clear that, yeah, I should probably figure out ways to get better at that, which is hard. And I don't know if I'll be able to do that, because on the other hand, I'm obviously a very talkative person. While I struggle to, keep myself shut up enough in discussions, I also feel like, yeah, I don't know, I'm just sometimes worried about that whole thing, because I'm like, yeah, but deep in my heart, I feel like I could be able to do good content on YouTube and actually do something here, because I like to explain things, and I like to, I don't want to call it teach, but it kind of goes into that vague direction, right? It's like, but there's other aspects of my personality that are obviously holding me back from that in a lot of ways, and I don't know. I guess it's just like the whole, like, traveling, meeting old friends, coming back home, sitting at home, and there's nothing, and suddenly you fall into this like even deeper hole than you're usually stuck in, which sucks. And then you get all these dark thoughts and have to figure out what's going on. There's a profound feeling of loneliness included in that, which is to a large part definitely my fault, and I'm aware of that. But it's still kind of there and makes it kind of difficult to overcome. So I usually just return to being angry at something or someone, which makes a lot of sense for me, because finding another goal than your target for your anger than yourself is definitely a coping strategy, I guess. So that's sort of like the emotional state I'm in right now. It's not helped by the fact that I'm waiting for some money that I should get for something I did, but until then I'm extremely broke again, because turns out traveling costs money. And sometimes unforeseen things happen on a travel that suddenly cost you even more money, and you're like, oh shit, I need to pay extra, because otherwise I'll be stuck in a different town for a while, and it's bad. It's what it is. And that constant feeling of struggling is like, there's no chance for me to just leave all of that behind and just. It feels like I'm in this like weird, like, I don't know, almost like a hamster wheel, where I'm like, no matter what I do, like 3 weeks later, I'll be broke again and have like €1 left to buy food for the next couple of weeks, and next week or so. And that's not a good feeling to live in, because it means to need to ask people for help, and friends potentially to help, and it hurts. Basically, it all just hurts and is annoying. So I'm glad that I'm reading a good book in which, Hopeland being a more positive one than you might think. So there's that, and isn't that brilliant? So yeah, what can I say? I did start on my next big project, and I'm really looking forward to actually getting it done, getting it finished. I'm starting to do that, and I'll try to actually, talk about Hopeland to the 3 people interested in Ian MacDonald, and I'll try to, get back on, rereading Purdue Street Station, because the next conversation for that is coming up. I'll share the link as soon as I can, but I guess it's on Sunday. It's this coming Sunday at the same time. As soon as I have the link, I'll just share it for all of you on the community tab. And yeah, should you be interested in the metal industrial complex, the first one, we just call it a demo episode, because we're just introducing ourselves and freewheeling a lot. I guess the next episode will be a bit more focused, and my goal, like our goals here, are really to look at just the world of heavy metal and how it intersects with all kinds of other issues. Look at how marketing works, look how gender questions, those kind of things that are more on the academic side, but not yet fully academic, but sort of like more like kind of more distanced look at the whole thing, and not just give album reviews. So I'm really optimistic for this thing. We'll see how it goes. If you're interested in it, just check it out. I'll link it down below. And yeah, I hope you have a good week. Do something fun, read something fun. Try not to get burned alive by all the messy heat waves right now. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. And until then, well, thanks and cheers.